What is up, Bodyweight exercise fans? Today I'm training with Stephen, who is visiting from the States here in northern Greece. And Stephen has a project of his own regarding bodyweight training. So Stephen, tell us a little bit about your project.
Yeah, so I have a website called formiseverything.com. And this is basically a calisthenics space for people, particularly older individuals. I'm 56, who are just getting into training with body weight, or maybe have been doing it for some time and need some ideas and motivation. And it's entirely about basic calisthenics movements, push-ups, pull-ups, dips, squats, lunges, and how you can use those to build strength and muscle and avoid injury. And so I've followed Anthony's work really for a number of years now, ever since I saw you in New York City with Al Cavadlo, because I trained under Al. And I knew you were Greek, and I knew you filmed your videos outside in Greece, but I never knew where you were until one of your videos you put Kastoria at the top. And I said, well, I'm going to a wedding. My niece is getting married in Kastoria. So I contacted Anthony and said, let's get together. And he graciously agreed to meet with me and my son, George, and whoever else was interested. And we've done 2 training sessions now. And it's been a lot of fun. This is a beautiful place, and we're super excited to be here.
Awesome. So you've got some questions. I think I'll throw some questions back at you as well.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I probably have the top 3 YouTube channels for me. Yours is definitely in there, if not number 1. So if you haven't checked out Anthony's channel, Bodyweight Muscle, do so. He's already addressed a lot of the things that have been kind of front and center for me for as long as I've been doing this. One of them is really kind of what would be your top advice for aging, for people who are older, maybe people who are new to strength training, people who are already suffering from maybe some knee pain or flexibility, mobility problems, to get strong, but also to avoid injury and maybe even to improve some of these problems.
Mm-hmm. So we're talking about people that are beginning to train, after their 30s, 40s, and 50s, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Great. So first of all, warm-up is, for me, even more than half the workout. When you're even over 30, which is, you're not old at 30, but we do have statistics where we see that, people get a lot more easily injured. People start to lose muscle mass about 1% after they turn 30, if they don't strength train, of course. And, things do start to change. So warm-up is essential. My top tips regarding warm-up would be definitely do dynamic stretches, definitely do mobility routines, and I highly recommend easy sets, or what I call nowadays rehearsal rounds. So once you're done with your the main part of your warm-up, like really detailed mobility and dynamic stretching routine, after that I highly recommend that you go through the exercises that you'll be doing that day, but doing them in a lot easier, easier variations, lower intensity. For example, with pull-ups, I highly recommend, even if you can do like 10 to 15 pull-ups, I always recommend that you get started with some band-assisted pull-ups. That's so much more better for your elbows. The same with dips, because these are full bodyweight exercises. So you're instantly throwing your whole body weight on top of your shoulders, your elbows, and that can be a really easy way to get inflammation. So definitely start with band-assisted versions for your what I call the rehearsal round. So go through a round where you do all of the exercises that you'll be doing that day, but take them doing a lot easier variation of them. If you don't have bands, instead of pull-ups, you can start with some inverted rows. It's another way to do like a pull exercise that's a bit more light, since your feet are on the floor. And instead of dips, for example, I would do decline push-ups, because that's more or less like a pretty similar angle. So make sure that you're always starting with a round that is an easy round, as I call it, or a rehearsal round. If you're doing like a 1 minute wall sit, start with a 30-second wall sit. If you're doing like 30-second planks, 30-second one arm planks, for example, which is a more advanced variation, start with a 30-second double bilateral plank. So always have a round where you go through all the exercises, but you do them like really lightly. You focus on a lot easier variations.
That's great. That brought up another point for me, which is similar, which is, what do you think about skill training, or kind of the dangers of doing the more difficult exercises? Even a dip for me, I don't do a lot of dips just because I end up with shoulder tightness for sure, sometimes pain. Handstands and those sorts of more advanced skills, I learned pretty quickly, just aren't in the cards for me. I'm not all that interested in them anyway, but I'd be real nervous to work on that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I think it's really important to differentiate, what is what are basic calisthenics and what are acrobatic calisthenics, because there are two different things. You have the people on YouTube that are doing all the front levers, the back levers, the handstands, the muscle ups, which are cool to see and fun to do. And I've done those when I was in my before my 30s, basically. But it's not something you can do long term, or at least not everybody. Some people are born with amazing joints and ligaments and connective tissue. But for most people, getting started with these kinds of skills after 30, after 40, after 50, usually will cause injury. Unless you had like a really big background in gymnastics and stuff like that. You've done these movements when you were younger, and your body, can do them as efficiently as possible. It recognizes the motor patterns, and it can do them with the least amount of effort possible. Maybe then you can do those like a really basic version of those as you grow older. But for most people who don't have that background, usually it will end up in injury. I also used to do like a couple of stuff, when I was 26, 27, like the front levers and stuff like that. But pretty fast, I started noticing pain in my elbow from the front levers. And, that's when I realized that calisthenics for me is a way of living, a lifestyle that I want to maintain until I'm 50, 60, 70, 80, or even 90, or hopefully 100, you never know. But, definitely something I want to do. And, even with my grandkids, for example.
That's a great point, and that actually leads me directly into one of the other questions I want to ask you, which is, how would you maybe reframe your idea of progress for somebody who's older, also for somebody who's been at it for a long time? There's that lofty goal that a lot of people have of 20 pull-ups or 100 push-ups or something like that. But once you've done it for a while, those rep count goals kind of go away, and you realize that's probably not the best way to look at things, and you're not going to be able to just keep going up and up. So what would progress be for you, for somebody like me who's 56 and been at this for, I guess, about 12 years or so?
Yeah. For me, ultimate progress, as you grow older, is training. Yeah. Oh, sorry. I stopped. Yeah. I was thinking.